The McClendon Report, Ask or Ask, Donda's Rules, Suit Shoes, all available at McClendonReport.com.
Why should you have good living conditions in jail? You committed an offense violating someone else's quality of life, but Lake County Sheriff Mark Curran incarcerates himself so that he can feel their pain. He wants to know how it feels to be encaged. Come on, Sheriff Curran, go a month in jail, not 1 week, and you will see that jail is not a place to be, no matter how tidy they make living conditions. Quality of life incarcerator or publicity stunt? We question the sheriff tonight on Garrard McClendon Live. Welcome to Garrard McClendon Live. I have visited jails and prisons. The living conditions are horrendous, but should they be improved? Joining us on the phone on lockdown from County Jail is Lake County Sheriff Mark Curran. Sheriff, welcome to Garrard McClendon Live.
No, thank you.
Appreciate you coming on the show. You know, Sheriff, people have been accusing you of a publicity stunt. They've been saying, you know, this is a great thing because maybe we can learn about living conditions now. You've thrown yourself in jail. You know, first of all, how is it going for you on day 2? How are things?
How are things?
Yes.
You know, Gerard, I'm in jail, and you know, I mean, it's not great, but people in this world are suffering infinitely more than myself. And, you know, I'm still getting paid, and I'm in great health. And like I said in the piece that I put out, I have 500 volunteers that come into my jail on a regular basis and love these people for no money and no recognition. So I'm not looking for any empathy. You know, my, you know, place in the jail and what I'm going through is a joke in comparison to people on the front lines as far as what they've done.
Yeah, Sheriff Curran, what are your living conditions like in jail specifically? What are they?
What are my living conditions?
Yes.
Well, I'm living in a cell, and I have a, you know, we, you know, get served food and jail food, and you know, other than that, I'm interacting with the inmate. I'm observing programming, talking, spending a lot of time in Bible study with inmate, men's workshop I've been to a couple of. Was at a workshop on life skills where they're basically preparing for their exit, you know, with regards to getting resumes together and job interviewing skills. And then I spent a significant amount of time talking with media.
Now, what's the main reason for this? Is this to help shine a light on living conditions, or is this to do something as it pertains to recidivism?
Well, jail is not a Holiday Inn, and there's a punishment to be paid for, you know, sin, and so that's not it entirely. But as I put in the piece I put out before, Gerard, you know, one aspect was to try to see what we're doing in the jail and try to get some sense of that. Obviously, you know, being sheriff, you know, doors are open for me. My name's everywhere. People call me only sheriff, and I'm always I'm treated, you know, with more respect than anyone deserves, probably. So it humbles me by, one, wearing the uniform. Two, it sends a message of, you know, that everybody in my jail should be treated with respect. But, you know, more importantly, I think in some way I'm honoring the 500 volunteers that come into the jail. We have the best-run jail in the nation, as I put in the piece, that I hope it shines the light on our jail, that people come see it. I've been to Illinois Department of Corrections. I represented them as an attorney. I know what they're about. The gangs that terrorize the neighborhoods of our communities started in the Department of Corrections, as I mentioned in the piece that I put out, that the biblical adage, you reap what you sow, came out of the Department of Corrections. And you know, beyond that, clearly I'd like to see changes in the jail made, and this helps give me the platform. Additionally, you know, these people are going to be released, and I want to see them have chances and second chances and be able to. And it's about loving your neighbor.
That's
you
right.
Know what I'm saying, Gerard? That's if nothing else comes from that. Who is your neighbor? Your neighbor is a person that's incarcerated, whether it's in jail or prison or what have you.
You know, Sheriff, I want to ask you a little bit later about this divine inspiration that you got, but let's talk to us about living conditions. I mean, what's the shower like? You know, is there any vermin in your jail? You know, rats or roaches or ants? You know, what's the temperature like in the cell? Just
no,
give us
Gerard, you haven't been to Lake County, have you?
Not to Lake County, no.
Okay, yeah, no, there's not cockroaches running around or rats or anything else like that. It's the finest, you know, run jail that I'm aware of. So it's. I wouldn't compare it to whatever, if your experience is Cook County Jail.
Oh, yeah, I've been to Cook County.
Okay.
Cook County is scary.
Yeah, it's not, I wouldn't compare it to that. It's not Cook County Jail. It's safe. You know, as I mentioned in the piece that we put out, only 3 inmate-on-officer attacks in the last 18 years, never an inmate-on-volunteer attack, very little inmate-on-inmate attack, virtually never. So it's really an unparalleled experience, Lake County Jail. It's not great. You know, I mean, I've had bologna twice today. The food stinks, but that's what jail's supposed to be. You're not supposed to have good food. You're not supposed to have great conditions. You know, there's a reason why there's a punishment component that is important to jail, and it's supposed to be hard. And it's supposed to suck. But, you know, by the same token, we need to offer rehabilitative programming as well so that people have second chances, so that our jails and prisons are not revolving doors.
You know, Sheriff, is this a publicity stunt, or, you know, do you really think that you can affect some change here?
Okay, Gerard, let me ask you this. I had dinner 2 weeks ago with Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I was invited to a dinner with him, and I sat next to him for the whole dinner. He's the guy down in Arizona that has pink underwear, serves green bologna, and they all sleep outside, and doesn't believe that anything good should happen to an inmate whatsoever. Now, wouldn't you assume that that's where popular sentiment lies? If you were going to do something, I've heard that I'm being blasted on blogs and everything else, and why should a sheriff care about inmates? So a publicity stunt, no. But is it the right thing as a moral person, as a person that should walk the walk to do? Yeah. And, you know, this could be political suicide for me, Gerard, but I could care less because in my heart of heart, it's the right thing.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on the show. I got one last question, then we're going to go to a break. I need to ask you, when it comes to inmates or offenders after they get sentenced and they have to do prison time, do you believe that they should be formally educated when they're in jail for longer than, let's say, a 2-year period?
I'm not following. If an inmate has more than a 2-year period, should they get a GED?
Yes.
You know, you can lead a horse to water. You know, bottom line is there is free will, and people make their own determination as to what they're going to do with their life. And you hope that they take responsibility, and you hope that they look to the future. But it's going to be up to the individual inmate.
Wow. Sheriff Mark Curran, thank you so much for being on Garrard McClendon Live. We appreciate you.
Okay, Gerard.
And, you know, hey, we'll be praying for you as well.
I need it. I need it.
As you go through those living conditions. Thanks again.
Okay, Gerard. Thank you.
And still to come on today's show, we're going to be speaking with Malcolm Young from the John Howard Association. And should living conditions be a concern for correctional facilities? Call me, 630-575-TALK. Garrard McClendon Live, back before the gates close.
Blues is different.
Welcome back to Garrard McClendon Live. Hey, now we're joined by Malcolm Young from John Howard Association of Illinois. Malcolm Young, welcome to Garrard McClendon Live.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
You know what, Malcolm, could you please first explain to us what is the John Howard Association of Illinois?
I'll try. It's an organization that's 106 years old. It was founded in 1901, and it's one of only 3 organizations in the country that are independent that have access to jails, prisons, and juvenile facilities. In our case, in Illinois. And exercises citizen oversight over what goes on inside those institutions. We're a corrections and sentencing reform organization.
Okay, and, you know, I talked with the sheriff a little bit earlier. He incarcerated himself. He says it's not a publicity stunt. You know, where is your stance on this?
Well, I have to tell you that when we first heard about it, which was yesterday, you know, I was suspicious. I don't know the sheriff, and I don't know this jail. It's not one that I've been in, and the only staff person that has been in is on vacation. So, you know, I didn't know what to make of it, and I'll tell you why. Because there are many mechanisms in place that sheriffs and corrections officials use to determine what's going on in their jail. There are state standards to be met. There are health standards, the county health standards that govern food services. There are standards and accreditation that is available to a system, a jail, for health services that you deliver to inmates. There are systems whereby inmates can complain through a grievance process, and there are requirements in any good jail that are mandated that officers and anyone involved in any incident have to file reports. So there are a lot of ways to get information, and then, of course, there's the other way, which is done by a lot of sheriffs and corrections. They walk around and they ask inmates and staff, what's going on? How you doing? What's up? So I was suspicious, and I really wondered what was going on, but now I have a slightly different take. Okay, that makes sense. Well, let me ask you this. Should we be concerned about offenders' living conditions? I mean, why? They've committed an offense, and if they're in a living condition, standard of living within a jail or a prison that's substandard, why should we even care, Malcolm? Well, first of all, and your sheriff is actually making this point publicly, which is why I've reconsidered my initial reaction, but I'll get back to that. First of all, you're wrong, as many people are. People in jail have not necessarily been convicted of an offense or even committed an offense. In Cook County, less than 1/4 of the people who come out of the jail every year, and there are 97,000 of them, come out with any kind of conviction. The rest of them, 3/4 of them, come out without having been convicted of anything. They come out on bond, or their cases are dismissed. So these are not people who have been proven guilty necessarily. They are waiting for trial. That's a great point, Malcolm, because what we oftentimes assume is that because they've been booked, because they've been pulled over, they've been sent to jail, we're assuming that the person is guilty when the reality is, they're innocent until proven guilty. And I'll be quite frank with you. I'm glad you clarified that, Malcolm, because if I was booked and had to, and I knew I was innocent, and I knew that I had an alibi and had to spend 2 or 3 days in jail, and the living conditions were substandard, I would be extremely upset. Malcolm, let's talk about Cook County Jail. We're going to shift gears because Sheriff Curran said that Lake County Jail is almost impeccable. So by him incarcerating himself, that holds very little water with Garrard McClendon Live. However, let's talk about Cook County. Now, Cook County Jail was found that their living conditions were unconstitutional. Have you visited, and, why did they find those living conditions at Cook County unconstitutional? Well, I think you're referring to the recent report by the U.S. Attorney. That's correct. Okay. Well, it happens that the John Howard Association of Illinois, this office, is a federally court-appointed monitor at the Cook County Jail. So unlike the sheriff's program up there in Lake County, we're very familiar with the Cook County Jail, and there's 10 or 11 units or divisions. Some of the structures are decades old, go way back to the 1920s. Some of the more recent structures are very deficient. It's aged. It's been expanded over the years. It's been exceedingly overcrowded at times. It's been understaffed. There have been periods in its history when its staff has been not well trained. Political appointees. There have been a lot of trouble, a lot of problems at the jail. It has been in the past a dangerous place to be. Yeah, Malcolm, just quickly, I've got to go to break shortly. When people visit jails, do you think if they're too sensitive, they'll be too harsh, or if they're insensitive, they'll be too soft? You mean if people go into them? No, when people visit from, like, John Howard Association. Usually, of course, we go into these facilities professionally, and we take volunteers in as visitors, talk to the inmates, look around. We have access to almost every nook and corner in prisons and jails. And the impression most people have the first time they go in is that they did not know what the conditions were like.
Right.
Two, they're not pleasant. Two, they get an appreciation of how difficult the job is for the correction staff.
Yes.
If they're trying to do a good job, and many of them are, and how difficult the population is, because you have, our jails are now our largest mental health facilities.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Malcolm. We have to be a lot more empathetic. Your website is john-howard.org. Malcolm Young, thank you so much for being on the show. john-howard.org is the website if you need more information on correctional facilities. Coming up next, your phone calls. Light up my line, 630-575-TALK. Should jail be a country club, a pigsty, or something in between? Call me now. Garrard McClendon Live. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Garrard McClendon Live. Man, warm and fuzzy, damp and filthy. What do you say about jail conditions? I was writing a blog earlier today. I'm going to a phone call shortly, and I stated this in the blog. I said, hey, with sagging clothes and those godforsaken red slippers, Sheriff Mark Curran assumes the humiliation of an offender, but he can go home anytime he wants. Will he really get a taste of what living conditions are really like in jail? Will he eat the same food? He did say that earlier. Did they clean the cells this week so that the sheriff would say, the conditions are great for me? Hey, I'm going to the phones. Mike, thank you for calling. Garrard McClendon Live. Mike, what is your comment?
Hey, Garrard, I just want to say I love your enthusiasm in the show. I definitely don't think that he's going to get the same conditions. They clean the place up, and there's no way he's going to be running around in the general populace of the jails. He's going to be treated like a star over there. They did the same thing with when R. Kelly was going to county, they cleaned the whole place up for the cameras. So it's all garbage. You know what, Mike? That's an interesting point, because in the Chicago Tribune article that I read earlier, they made it a point to say that the guards said that they would make sure that the sheriff would not get injured. Thanks. Yeah, what about everyone else, though, Gerard? There we go. That's the bottom line. Thanks a lot for the phone call, Mike. It's all about living conditions in jail. The sheriff, of course, in Lake County, Mark Curran, decided to go to jail for, a week or so. Why doesn't he stay in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month? I'm going back to the phones. I'm going to Steve. Thanks for calling Garrard McClendon Live. What's your comment?
Hello, Gerard.
Hello.
It is a farce. There's no comparison. He knows the whole program in Lake County. He wrote the menu. He knows what's going on. Let's be real about it. He's not going into a dormitory jail with hardcore crack gang-banging criminals, and here's someone that maybe did a traffic violation is mixed in with a general population of 100 angry men that's been there for 90 days.
Wow. Steve, thanks for the phone call, Steve.
Let's be realistic.
Appreciate it, Steve.
It's a game.
Thanks for the phone call, Steve. You know what? Steve brings up a great point, because everyone in the jail knows that the sheriff is in jail, and everyone knows. So are they going to put a hit out, or are they going to try to shank the sheriff? It's not going to happen. I'm going back to the phones. Monique, thanks for calling Garrard McClendon Live. Monique, what's your comment? Monique, what's your comment? Yes, Byron. I'm going to Byron at Garrard McClendon Live. Byron, what's your comment?
Well, I was just calling because I wanted to say I feel that they deserve to have, fair living conditions, because, for one, even though they committed crimes, they're still human. And as far as the sheriff, I mean, to be honest, they would tear him apart if he was getting in the general population, because they know what he is. They know he's created what's supposed to be going on there, and he's just doing it for publicity.
Wow. Byron, thanks for the phone call, man. Thanks for calling Garrard McClendon Live. Hey, stay with me. You can always hit my blog at cltv.com. You can hit my blog, cltv.com/GML. You can always reach me on the internet. We're going right back to the phone calls. I'm going to April. April, thanks for calling Garrard McClendon Live. Hey, what's your comment?
Hey, Gerard, I love your show.
Thank you.
What I was calling to say is, are we supposed to forget about the criminals in prison that have taken other people's lives and be concerned about how they are living? At least they are living.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. You
yes.
know, who cares if they're eating bad food or laying in a bad place? At least they're laying and eating.
Wow. That's a great call, April. Thank you so much for calling Garrard McClendon Live. Continue to keep watching. Earl, I'm coming at you next on Garrard McClendon Live. What's your comment?
My comment is this sheriff is this watered-down sheriff trying to go in and bring some awareness. He should go down. He should be in Cook County right now, and he can see from the bullpen all the way down to when he come out of there, and let him be in there for a whole month with no food or anything.
Wow.
He'll know exactly what's going on, okay?
Man, Earl, thanks for the phone call. I got some angry people calling Garrard McClendon Live tonight. Do I have one more phone call? I'm going to Dan. Talk to me. Garrard McClendon Live, what's your comment quickly?
Yes, sir, I've been working there for nearly 15 years, and going back to Cook County, we're in the same position as the Chicago Police Department is. We have people that the sheriff is an attorney/politician. We have two directors that have never worked in Cook County. They come from the penitentiaries in Stateville. I happen to be in Stateville when Director Godinez was there.
Yeah.
He got run out of the jail cells there for making bad decisions.
Oh.
The same bad decisions that he's making here in Cook County. How can you put all of the disciplinary detainees in one single division? We are overstaffed. We are understaffed. I'm sorry, and you know we actually need help. There's
yes.
You know there's a lot of positions that are open. For instance,
that's right.
The McClendon Report. Ask or Ask, Donda's Rules, Suit Shoes. All available at McClendonReport.com.